What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Conservatives versus Reddit podcast. And you are in the right place if you hate everything Jane Fonda and Nancy Pelosi and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and John, as we take on the tyrannical left and all the lies they spread through the internet, specifically Reddit. And we are here to bring the logic. John, what do you got for us today?
I think people, if anybody's listening, they just missed half your intro.
Why?
Because you cut out really bad.
Ooh, that sucks.
Boo.
Rest in peace.
Why'd I cut out?
I don't know.
Am I cutting
still on
out?
Push to talk?
Yeah, I'm still on push to talk, but I had it down the whole time.
I don't know, man.
Do you have weak
All the
fingers?
keys.
No, it was green the whole time.
You don't have weak fingers? Okay.
Do you want to restart?
Hell no, we don't restart here. There's no mistakes.
No.
This is all
You don't-
planned.
You don't redo a handshake when you mess it up. You just go with it. That's soft.
That's true.
That's
That's
soft.
You
true.
gotta move on.
Okay.
We're not softies.
Okay, right off the bat, we're going right for the nitty gritty. Title of the post: It used to matter when a politician yelled the N-word.
Oh yes. Oh man. I'm glad since we've had such a break from these, we've really been able to accumulate a wealth of insanity to pull from.
Oh, yeah, this is a while ago.
This is 17 days ago. Okay, John, did you post this one? Do you wanna?
I think you
Summarize?
posted it, but
I
it
think I did.
doesn't matter. So I don't know if y'all are familiar, but Sacha Baron Cohen is doing a new show called Who Is America, or This Is America. No, This Is America is a song. It's Who Is America. Who Is America, and he basically just does different personalities and tries to get people to not recognize him, and he convinces them to do just absolutely crazy things. So he convinces Jason Spencer, who's a Republican. I forget if he's in the House or if he's in the Senate. He's in Congress. We'll just say that. And he gets him to pull down his pants and walk around, and then he gets him to shout the term "sand N-words" in reference to Arabs, and it's just a complete mess.
Okay. So now, is this something where this was like in guise and like nobody knew what was going on? Like he didn't know it was Sacha Baron Cohen, or was this just like, hey, this show's gonna make killer views or like killer ratings if you do this type thing? Like,
Oh no, he didn't know it was
Yeah.
Sacha Baron. He was definitely tricked, and he's an idiot. But the problem I have is with, and the same thing with John has, is with the title of the article. It says it used to matter when a politician yells the N-word is the title of the article, and what they don't get to until like the end of it is that this guy has lost his seat and has been disavowed by all of his colleagues for this. Like he's not
It
a
literally
he
says
doesn't
at
get
the
to
top
be
of the article. It says Jason Spencer has announced his formal resignation. So the very top of the article.
oh under
it
the
is
picture,
update.
yeah. Oh, the
It's
update, yeah.
Yeah. But like, no, he resigned. They're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's disavowed by all of his colleagues, obviously, because the article is not true. It didn't used to matter. It still matters, and you'll lose your job over, as you should.
I would argue it matters
it's
more
ridiculous.
today with race baiting politics people play. Like, I feel like it matters more now than it did 30 years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially in the
Especially
South.
with the access of the internet before, like now everyone would just. I mean, I think this was pretty big, so I mean, it's just everywhere. It'll be on your Facebook, on Twitter, there'll be a little Snapchat little story.
Have either of you watched the clip from the Sacha Baron Cohen show?
Yeah, I watched
this one?
Yeah.
Or which one?
The clip that it was included in the article where they
Yeah.
have a quote where it's like, white lawmaker warns black attorney she, quote, might go missing if Confederate statues are threatened. So this isn't like this was his first strike either. So like now obviously it does matter, like you said, but I guess maybe their concern or in the article is that he already threatened black attorney because she was trying to get Confederate statues taken down. So I don't know. That is kind of concerning.
Oh, you can't threaten black people? Only racists threaten black people? Black people aren't humans capable of handling strong language at him.
No, that's not it at all. I just like if that wasn't the first tip that yeah, he was kind of a racist for automatically assuming that she would have to be the one to go missing if these Confederate statues went down. Like it must be her because she's the black lady, and only black people can hate the Confederacy. Yeah, that's kind of interesting, right? Because obviously, if you're white, then you're fine with hating black people and owning slaves and all that, right?
Yeah, obviously.
Well, we're not.
What do
trying
you
to sit
mean?
here
I
and
think he
criticize-
meant. He said that. So, the
I don't
black
know, this-
attorney was saying
it
that they
says-
were gonna try and get rid of the statues, and then he said, if the statues go missing, you're gonna go missing. Is that what?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that
Yeah.
doesn't have to be
That's a-
racially motivated. Although the problem that it's surrounding is related to racism, but I don't see how that's racist.
Okay. I mean, yeah, you might. I mean, I think you do see how it's racist. I don't think you want to recognize it, but I think you do
No,
see.
I don't see how that's racist.
Really?
Well, if you had a problem with someone, whatever, was gonna like, let's say you painted a mural and there was like a community hearing about the mural and people were opposed the mural were going to paint over it, and you said, and you threatened like, if the mural gets painted over, I'm gonna paint over you, like, right, like just using the words back at them.
No, that's not even. I don't believe that those are equivalencies, right? I mean, this is obviously a black lawyer representing what she feels is the black community, right? In that Confederate statues represent a significant oppression in their history.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. I don't think
So this
they
this is certainly a racial issue, and then to go make a threat against someone because of the racial issue that is black. I don't understand how you could not say that that was a racist comment. Now you're right. In the
It's not a
circumstance
racist comment because the comment has nothing to do with race.
But you don't think? But you wouldn't have read that and be like, "Wow, that guy's probably kind of a racist."
No, I would read that and think, wow, this guy really wants to hold on to his history, which is a racist history.
Oh, weird. Okay, okay, thanks. Appreciate that.
Well, it doesn't mean just because he feels some historical connection to a figure, and that figure fought
Slavery
fought
and
to
ultimately
uphold
lost.
slavery, right? It doesn't mean necessarily that he thinks slavery is okay, but he still feels a connection to his past and doesn't want it to be erased because of that. Like, it has more to do with just that one aspect, although that's ultimately what they died over, if that makes sense. Which
No, yeah,
I
that
think
makes
a
sense.
common, like, I think they shouldn't be, like, these people shouldn't be erased from history. They're whatever, the Confederate generals, but I definitely would agree that they don't belong in public, like statues being, like, them being revered in the form of a statue. Like, they belong in a museum.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And that is the interesting thing when you talk about the Confederate statue issue, is that in, like, every other war, the winner writes the history and the winner is celebrated. And in the end, the South lost. So why do we still celebrate some of they're not celebrate, but have memorials to
People
the
are
losers.
fighting over a really
Yeah.
bad thing.
Yeah, exactly.
A really bad. Everyone can agree, a really bad thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I to get back to the point, I guess I just like the Sacha Baron Cohen thing. I think it exposed something on a nationwide level that many people in the community he served already had a very good idea of.
A good idea of that he was racist.
Yes.
See,
Or that he
so
or that
saying
he was,
the word doesn't make you a racist. I mean, he would
Agreed.
have to call somebody that word in order for
Okay.
him to be. I would acknowledge at that point, yes, you're racist. Or if he said anything along the lines of someone being lesser because of their race.
Okay. All right.
I wouldn't say that anything in here proves that he's racist.
Obviously
Um,
nothing proves.
no, but-
although it's extremely insensitive, and no one that holds public office should be so socially unaware of the offense that they would cause by saying or doing stuff like this. I definitely agree on that, and that no one should hold office who's willing to, on camera, scream these insanely offensive, racial slurs.
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah,
like,
and I think that's what we all definitely agree on for sure.
this either proves he's an insane idiot or he's just a really immoral person, and neither of which should be in office. But the problem I have is that to say that someone's racist, what you're saying is you truly believe they think another person is lesser than them because of their skin color, right? And
the word
if
gets
you
so
throw that
is
term
so
around,
muddied.
if you throw that term around, it loses meaning. Like if
Yeah.
some known liberal would come up to me and say, "Hey, don't talk to that person because he's a racist," my first thought is, "Oh, he's probably not actually racist."
Exactly.
Right? So
Yeah.
they have devolved the term to such a point where I really
Same thing
I
with
am
the
strange
term
to
Nazi.
care about it at this point.
That is an interesting point.
Okay, so this was just like, it didn't have much political significance, but it was funny.
Well,
Everybody should watch the clip. The
Yeah.
clip is funny.
Should
Whether or not you like
read some of the comments though.
Oh yeah, should we?
Because always the most upvoted comments are just people that just like read the title and then they just say something really emotionally charged, and it gets people riled up and upvoted to the top. Like this guy says, that's a literal quote he knowingly made on camera with an official endorsement. It's fine though, there's an R next to his name. Like this makes... He lost his job, he's not in office anymore over this incident. It's not fine, obviously. If I mean, yeah. This is just so absurd, and the people responding... So a lot of people in that responded to that comment, although that comment is one of the most upvoted in the entire thread, are saying he lost his primary, no one is standing by him, blah blah blah. So at least there's some sane people.
Yeah, I mean, at least people are bringing to light the fact that he
he
didn't lose his job. He stepped down, but he was gonna get the party was not gonna support him after this either.
Yeah.
Yeah, that begs the question, though. Was the party not going to support him because they disagreed with what he said? Or was the party not going to support him because they thought their voters disagreed with what he said?
We'll know as soon as we can read minds.
Yep, that's right.
I hate people who do that cynical thing, like if someone like does something wrong, like some celebrity does something wrong and they make an apology and they donate money to charity, then there's always someone who says, they're just doing this because... blah blah blah, they didn't really learn, it's just for PR. Or even if someone doesn't do something bad, like celebrity just does something nice or whatever, there's always someone who just says they're not actually doing this, I wonder if they just did this for the public attention, they don't really care, blah blah. The question is pointless because you'll never know their true intentions unless you can read their mind, or they would come out and say their true intentions. So it's just, there's no point being so cynical. But you always see that when like a celebrity does something big for a charity or whatever, people say like it's just for publicity. Like we should shame people for doing something nice for the community.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we could all agree that just political parties are bad in general, and we should get rid of them. But
Or we should have more.
We should do the Joe Rogan wise council of elders. I don't even know what that means. I've heard him say that a bunch of times on his podcast, and he just says we should have. I don't even know what it means. We should have a council of wise elders. It's like, what? How do you pick? What does that mean? Like a Jedi council type situation? Ben Shapiro's like 30. He's not a wise elder.
Yes, don't give me that shit.
Is Congress not the embodiment of a group of wise elders? I mean, people vote for them, so.
Yeah,
no,
I think
the people that vote for them are dumb.
Yeah, well, that's mostly true.
So no.
Yeah, he means. Yeah, that's what he means. Like, yeah, he's getting at the wise council of elders get to make total decision. There's no one. His point is that it's absurd for one man to be able to control aspects of 350 plus million people's lives. make, Allah having a president. So you have a wise council of elders, an odd number, and then they vote on issues instead of having one person be in control. Which, it's not to say the president has total control. Obviously, there are checks and balances, and there's different branches. But there's a lot of things that Trump can just do that, like with the tariff thing. Like,
we should have 101 people in control of our government. 2 from each state, except for Alaska, they get 3.
Alaska gets 1. That's bullshit. Wait, it should be done off population. That's not fair.
No.
Population.
No. Then,
why not population? That's not equal representation. Alaska is significantly inferior to California.
We want America's best interest representation. We don't want.
That's not the best interest. What?
It might be. They might be the wisest state around, man. Their state's still beautiful, very limited.
Oh, you cut out, Adam.
We need more states like Alaska.
Okay, we're gonna ignore you if you keep cutting out because you make half a point.
Well, I can't control my internet speed, John, so shove something up your ass, okay?
Yeah, not everyone can live in a socialist state with fiber optic internet like you.
Yeah,
California.
Did that not cut out? I hope you heard that.
Oh, I heard it, and my father who listens to this is gonna hear that too. So I'm glad.
Yeah, Fake.
Actually, that's one thing your dad would support from the socialists. It's that internet access is a right, and then they would have to build out to your house.
That's right.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Then they can watch Netflix at home.
Yep.
That's funny. All right, should we move on to the next thing?
Yeah.
All right, this one is just it's terrible. It's some of the dumbest comments.
Wait, is
actually some good comments. No. This one is the
one.
House Democrats introduced bill to require 2 years of debt-free college across the U.S. Australia's after that. Yeah. I think someone just messed up the hyperlink. You guys got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No. Tell me if I cut out here. But I believe that the whole point of this bill is that they would just increase everybody's financial aid via the Pell Grant in order to cover the costs of 2 years of tuition, which is a terrible plan in this proposed bill because it does nothing to regulate the cost of schooling. Mm-hmm. So once schools realize that they can literally get as much money from the government as they want in the first 2 years,
mad people.
No, they'll literally just hike the price of tuition because they know the government will cover it.
Yeah, and let in more students.
Regulate the market.
Yeah.
So it's a terrible idea.
Yeah, and there's someone who calls it out. Like, there's a comment here that basically says, okay, but it's not a comprehensive bill because we've been doing this for 30 years and nothing's changed, right? And the reply to that is just the worst I've seen in this entire thread. As some guy says, agreed. That's why we need to price fix college, basically saying. So not only do you want to increase government regulation.
Oh my, how the tables have turned.
Yeah. Not only do you want to increase government regulation by increasing funding, but then you want to price regulate, which is just...
Yeah, I don't get this, like, muddied water, like, having private schools be able to operate for profit, but then also try and regulate the price of what they do. Like, that's just mixing the two. I feel like it should be one way or the other.
Yeah, you can regulate public schools like it's a public school, but, just like it's still not a great idea.
Yeah, I think they should make like the schools like BTC and Wacom 2 years tuition free.
But it's never going to be tuition free.
Why couldn't it be tuition free?
Somebody has to pay somewhere. So who's paying the salaries of professors?
It'll come from taxes, obviously.
It'd be taxpayer dollars, right? So basically, your parents are paying your tuition.
Yeah, everybody in America is paying for the young people's community college education. Yeah.
But then how do they decide that, right? Everybody in America, okay? But what if there's way more people going to school or community college in Washington than there are in Wyoming? So does that mean that Wyoming should still have to pay as much into that federal tax, even though less people are going to community college there?
You just pay per person that is enrolled.
So should this be handled at the state level, and states should be able to decide whether or not they offer free 2-year tuition at a community college?
Yeah, this state level. I'm surprised the liberal states like Washington don't already have something like that.
They don't want to do that.
Why don't they want to do that?
The liberals don't want you to be educated. Then you wouldn't vote for them.
Well, yeah, they want you to be educated, but
No, they don't.
Yeah, they want you to have a useless degree like liberal arts.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think it's a little bit naive to say that they don't want you to be educated. Like, college is a
But
breeding ground
the
for
liberals
liberalism.
are more. There's more Democratic voters with degrees that vote than Republican voters.
Yeah, it's because they really
Yeah.
didn't go to college and learn anything. They
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
just
You can go to Evergreen
Well,
State.
they went to school and then they took out, $80K to get some stupid degree.
to get a degree in underwater basketball.
And now they're mad in debt and they're making like 50 grand a year, which they could have been already making with just like a GED. And they're like, fuck, I want more money.
Yep,
Someone's
exactly.
got to do something. I made this bad decision. The government's got to do something.
Well, I like there is a comment in here that is saying, well, we put too much emphasis on college and more people should do apprenticeship programs and stuff. And I was really encouraged to see that in there. Like,
Yeah, that's why I'm saying
not enough people say
trade
that.
schools and community colleges you pay the tuition for. Obviously, at school, like you can never pay like the tuition for like a Western or a Wazoo is like 12K. Like that's way too
Yeah.
much. But $1,500 a quarter for 2 years. I mean,
Well, I believe, anybody correct me if I'm wrong, but the first government aid, financial aid for college, I believe was passed in 1958, and then in 1960s we first started seeing the skyrocket in tuition prices. So we gave people more money to pay for things, and it immediately, or nearly immediately,
yeah.
prices skyrocketed. It just makes common
Yeah.
sense. It's not
'Cause
a
everyone has
difficult thing.
You're giving 18-year-olds the capability to just here's $100,000 over 4 years for school.
Yeah, and the school's like, ooh, free money.
Exactly. Like, oh, if we, we start charging a little bit more, they'll keep giving them this money.
Yeah, it's like it's just playing the long ball of, okay, if we increase prices, we'll pass bills that we can pay for that make the people more dependent on the government, and then people that are dependent on the government will never vote against the government party that's giving them money.
Yeah.
If you think for 2 seconds about it, it's pretty clear.
What do you think about this? Is a sort of a side thing, but because I feel like MIT. This is the reason why MIT doesn't have scholarships. Sorry, they don't have scholarships for sports programs. Do you think? I think it's wrong to have, because it's factored into the cost of tuition for all students. They sort of subsidize the college the scholarships that athletes get to go to school. You see what I'm saying?
Well,
like
first-
I feel like they
first of
should be
all-
self-sufficient. Like obviously a football program could probably be self-sufficient with the ticket sales that it has, but like handing out a scholarship to like I don't know, some golfer who no one is going to pay to watch, that seems wrong to put it
Okay,
off onto
so-
all of the students.
Okay, so the NCAA does not allow Division III schools to give athletic scholarships. So MIT is not allowed to give you a scholarship for your sport. So that's why they don't do that. You're correct in that big programs like football pay for themselves. Like Washington State, even when they weren't a very good team, they still made millions of dollars off of the broadcasting rights. For the
Yeah,
games.
so the
self-sufficient.
scholarships they give out to their football players are paid for, not by students.
Yeah.
They're paid for by
And-
the program.
And yes, students may subsidize these athletes a little bit in general, but if you're on the track team, there are broadcasting rights for track and field. But even there, if you don't perform well, you won't get money. The amount of money you get is dependent on how well you do in the previous season. So most track athletes aren't even on full rides.
Are
So
there I feel like there's probably lots of kids that have sports scholarships that are being subsidized by students, like factored into the cost of
Yeah.
university for other students.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. They're probably not going to put out those numbers for
There's-
anybody to see. A public university might might be required to make those.
Like a women's college basketball team. Like, there's no way. There's no way it's paying for itself.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't know, because all of when you look at Division I schools, there's only so many scholarships that they're allowed to give out, like athletically, right? So I don't know if that price is factored in, or if that money somehow gets funneled through the NCAA at that level. So, like, because what it says is NCAA Division I and II schools provide more than $2.9 billion in athletic scholarships annually to more than 150,000 student athletes. But that makes it sound like the NCAA is directly involved with that.
Yeah.
That's not something I've ever looked into. So I don't
scholarships
know
coming from them or from the school?
that's what I don't know. Like, what is
Yeah, it's so muddied because they don't want the athletes to know, like the athletes that are playing in the popular sports, to know how much they're actually worth because they don't want to pay them.
Right. I mean, think about it. If they're willing, if the whole community of NCAA schools is willing to dump in $2.9 billion per year, like how much money is the whole thing actually making?
Yeah. There's got to be, like, if you're, like, the quarterback on a popular D1, like, college football team, like, you should probably be getting paid a six-figure sum. That's probably how much you're actually worth.
Oh, yeah.
They get,
sure. Oh, yeah.
You just get, like,
no question.
an education, but that's
Yeah,
not even
all you can
remotely
say,
worth.
yeah.
It's not even remotely worth what you would be worth in, like, an open market.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
a fair trade.
Like the amount of money that Alabama's football program makes, they have enough to pay like full basic salaries for all their players. That's not, yeah. But if they're not required to, then they're not going to. So you can't really blame them.
Yeah, and it's
are
all
there.
obfuscated and like hidden and stuff. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that we like the semi-pro level of sports is attached to colleges. That's so weird to me. Like,
Well,
I don't
yeah,
understand why it isn't like a separate thing. Like, why isn't there just a semi-pro like league, and then people who want to like get paid to be a professional football player or basketball player out of high school can, go straight into that instead of like faking their way through school when all they really want to do is be a professional athlete.
They're trying to do that. The X League, right? There's a new football league being started that you can come right out of high school and play football, but they don't make as much money as the NFL. So
That's because all of the big universities like your Alabama. Is it Alabama State? Is that the big one?
Alabama.
They have such like a long history and so many fans and stuff that it's hard. It's like so hard to compete with that, right? Like,
yeah, it's too deeply rooted. You can't do it.
you would have to break up like the college like sports, like start requiring them to like at least be open about the money so that the athletes can see what they're worth and then see what they're not getting paid.
But that doesn't translate to them being worth that actually on an open market, because it's the new market worth what the old market is, right? So
yeah, well, because there isn't a market, right? The only choice they have is to play for schools. Then the X League is like so tiny compared to college.
Or whatever,
Yeah, XFL, yeah.
And that's the thing; it'll never be that big because the college game will squash it, because they'll sell. I mean, they'll just lower the price. Yeah, I mean, they have all the good TV times. They have everything, right? So they're. Yeah. Well,
the government to come in and break it up. Would you agree with that? That the government needs to break it up or pass something?
No. The biggest problem is the NFL. The NFL says that you must do 2 years of college before you can play in the NFL. Which
3 years removed from high school. That's all it says.
Doesn't
say you have to do 2. So you don't have to play college football.
Well, yeah, but
you could play in like the CFL for 3 years, and then
No, I think the CFL even has a thing where you have to be removed from high school. You could literally, if you were that good, if you thought you were that good in high school, huh?
Why?
Everybody has a removal thing.
Why?
I don't know. I think it's because somebody said somewhere like you can't exploit 18-year-old kids. When really that's
how
what
is
the
it
NCAA
exploiting
is
them? Just any kid before he signs a contract can get a lawyer or a financial advisor to go over it and say this is fair, this is not fair. Isn't that what anybody should ever do when they get a contract?
The NFL has sold it as the idea that they don't want kids rushing into the NFL. They want them to explore other things, aka get a degree. But that's probably because the NCAA is tied up in the NFL somehow.
Well, if the NFL
and NBA, because like the NBA has now, NBA has like you have to at least sit out a year from high school before you can go to the NBA draft. And now, to make it even more incentive in NCAA, I think you're allowed to transfer without penalties. So like if you're not playing and you're like a good player, you could transfer, which should like increase the amount of time you're in college, which means better players will stay in college longer. There's all sorts of crap that's going on with that. So there's a really good chance that NFL, NBA, not so much MLB because they like to get kids out of high school.
Yeah.
But that somehow they're tied up into all these things.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't since I don't watch sports, but I watch esports or whatever. It's complete opposite because all of the majority of control in esports or a game specifically like Counter-Strike, because Counter-Strike is just absolute free and open market. There's no big conglomerate that controls the majority of the sport. All of the majority of the power is in the hands of the players. Like there's no you could just go to whatever team you want to. If you sign a contract, then an other organization could just buy you from them whenever they want if you wanted to leave. Like all of the hands is in the power of the players, whereas it's like the complete opposite in traditional sports. Like there's no like Valve, the company that made the Counter-Strike, they don't just like say you cannot play in our game. Like they don't issue out punishments or whatever like how the NFL does. Like, they don't just like bar like they
there's
have
an aspect of physical harm.
It's completely like free.
Yeah, but if
really
an 18-year-old kid gets his brain beat out in a football game,
no, that's not what I mean.
Carpal tunnel.
No,
I'm saying that that's one of the reasons for the regulations. That's one of the reasons.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. I meant like the trading between teams, like that aspect is controlled by.
Yeah, like you don't get to decide where you want to go.
And also, since it's not franchised, the power is completely in the players' hands. Like if you're good, and you fight for a relegation spot and make it into the pro league, there's the orgs can't say like you can't play in it or whatever, right? Like with the whole Colin Kaepernick situation. I don't know if he was a bad player, but like he created like a problem for the team, and then they can just fire him and just like bar him from playing, even if he was like really good. Let's say he wouldn't be able to get in because of that. In CS, they don't have any control over that. If you're a good player, will be able to play regardless.
Free agency. If they had let him go, he could have gone to free agency. He could have played for any other team that wanted him, but no other teams wanted him because he's a problem. That wasn't a matter of them like blacklisting him from the league.
But he was a problem because of the political drama, right? Not a problem as a player.
There's no, unfortunately, as much as I do think he was a great quarterback as a football fan. I think Colin Kaepernick was very good, and I still think he has the potential to be very good. However, until there's proof of collusion, I don't think it's fair that we say the NFL is blacklisting him in some way. As far as I know, there's no proof of that. If there was, he'd be in the league tomorrow because they'd have to drop. Somebody would have to let him in, right? If they thought there was a legitimate threat to that. I like to believe it was because I do think he was a really good player, and I really think it has to do with his social problems or his political standings, and I think that's wrong that they should be able to, or that somehow they have the power to do that. But I think also with 32 teams, the NFL is kind of a volatile situation where there's no way 32 owners all got together and decided the same thing, like, or GMs decided the same thing. Like everybody wants to win in the NFL. Yeah. So I don't know what the whole story is. I can't imagine it's only political because you got dudes that are getting caught, with marijuana or all sorts of stuff. Dudes who beat their girlfriend and stay on the team, right? Some dude that takes a knee, like, come on, that can't be the only thing. I don't know what it is, but that can't be the only thing.
Yeah. I just mean like the players get to decide who their teammates are, not the org.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But then fans wouldn't like that, because if teammates all of a sudden got to decide who their teammates were, you'd just have powerhouses, right? Because that's the thing.
That's what it is in CS.
Well, yeah, that's what successful people are attracted to successful people, right?
Yeah,
So
you get
now
super teams.
Yeah, so all
Which
of a
is
sudden,
great, because then you get super team, and then another team starts losing the edge. They're not number one anymore, and then they drop a player and pick up a better player, and it's super team versus super team. Yeah,
Okay,
it goes round and
that
round.
system is physically impossible in football because you need an actual stadium to play in.
Yeah,
right?
and
If
also-
players are just
well-
like, oh, we want to form a
Yeah.
team. They need to build a $1 billion stadium. That's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, that's true. But
The two situations are not comparable.
well, and also the teams are so much bigger. CS is 5v5. You don't need any backups, obviously, because no one's gonna get their leg or hands broken.
Yeah.
True.
Should we move on to the next article?
Yes.
Before
Australian one?
before we go, really quickly, I just want to say, so many people in the college article, they pointed out the hypocrisy of the Republicans wanting to pull $15 billion from college funding, but then they also want to subsidize the soybeans. I want to say, yes, that is ridiculous. We should not be subsidizing soybean farmers. Trump should just not put us in a trade situation where that's going to happen.
That's the one thing I don't understand about the Republican Party, is that the corporate welfare that goes on. For some reason, it's the Republican Party that it's both parties, but I don't understand why they're against entitlement programs, which is agreeable, but then they'll bail out failing industries.
Yeah, they shouldn't bail out failing industries, and they shouldn't subsidize soybean farming.
Yeah, it's absurd. It's what's the hypocritical?
Yeah, hypocritical. All right, so moving on to this Australian wage gap article.
Yes. I haven't even seen this one yet, so you wanna who posted it? You?
Yeah. So it says most Australians' wages have declined, but CEO pay is better than ever. Workers in private sector are experiencing wage growth well below inflation. I feel like this is just a basic lack of understanding of economics. If a company is big, then the risk of running the company is high. So they need to pay someone a lot of money because what they're doing is very, very important. So the board of directors says, okay, we're going to pay this CEO a lot of money because we trust his ability. Now, if a company is in the tank, it's usually not because the CEO is really bad. It's usually because of just economic, or the economy is going down. And so at that point, you need a good CEO more than ever. So if the company's in trouble because of just the economy, not because the CEO has done poorly, if the company's in trouble, oh, we need to keep our CEO more than ever because we trust him to get us out of the situation. So yeah, he might get a raise. But what you get paid in the private sector is it's supply and demand. If there's a lot of people wanting the job, the price will go down because people are willing to do it for less. And if the companies get bigger and bigger and the risk of failing is bigger and bigger, you're going to pay CEOs more and more because their job is more valuable.
This sounds like the future 1% defending the 1%.
Someone, we should require economics classes in high school. I don't know why that's not a bigger thing. Listen to Thomas Sowell talk about the CEO problem. He'll talk about why CEOs deserve what they get. He's one of the best economists I think we have in America. And it's just learn about economics and then make an argument. I would hesitate to say that anybody in this thread making comments has actually taken an economics class or read about economics in any capacity.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. And I also don't think that not only do they not really know what's going on, like they talk about how like workers are 85% of the workforce, but I guarantee you that, like you said, like there's supply and demand, right? There are like 100 people willing to line up and like do these things that CEOs, or like not everybody's qualified to be a CEO. And so there are more workers available, and therefore people get paid less, right?
Yeah. And yeah, it's a big fallacy because, like, so companies are profit driven, But when it comes to the CEO, they're willing to just shell out a bunch of money because they like to pay their CEO like more money than he's worth. That doesn't make any sense.
No, well, people still think that CEOs set their own salary. That's what people think.
Oh,
People are
man.
like, oh, he's
What a
the
meme.
he's the chief. Like yeah, like
The chieftain.
they're like he sets his own salary. There's boards of directors. There's all sorts of things that have to approve this.
And
But that's what people think because they
CEOs
watch
aren't
a
even
movie.
necessarily on the board.
That's what I'm
They
saying.
are for most companies, but they're not necessarily always on the board.
People watch a liberal Hollywood movie and they think CEOs are bad because they have the ability to set their own salary.
Yeah. Who's the CEO? The CEO of Apple is it Tim Cook or Tom Cook? What's
Tim
his name?
Cook.
Tim Cook.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, ask any person, are you smart enough? Do you have the capacity to run Apple? And they'll say no. Okay,
$1 trillion
and you ask them, how much do you think someone deserves to make if they can effectively run Apple? And they'll say probably millions and millions of dollars. Okay, and how much do you think you deserve to make for working on a factory line? Well, we pay them in China, so probably 10 cents to the hour. But it just blows my mind, the lack of understanding. If the growth in jobs, like if the number of available jobs out there does not grow to match the number of people, then the supply will drop. The supply of workers will rise, and the demand for jobs will rise. But that means that the price people are willing to pay for work goes down. So if you stifle the economy and job growth isn't matching population growth, then yeah, it's going to happen. That's not a surprise. You need to work on improving job growth.
And Tim Cook's salary was $12.8 million. The company was just valued at being worth $1 trillion. Like, that seems pretty fair to me.
Yeah, if he's largely the biggest factor in success or failure of the company,
seems like he's not getting paid enough.
No, I'd say he's not getting paid enough.
Yeah, if the company is valued at $1 trillion and he's only making 12.8 million, that's like nothing compared to what the company is worth.
Yeah, I know. What is that, like 12.8%?
No, it'd be
I know.
0.12.
Yeah, I know. That's what people look at that and they don't know basically.
What is that? What's that? 120%? Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. He's making 120%? My goodness.
Yeah. If you guys don't have anything else to say on the article, we can move.
No.
I don't really read that.
Yeah.
I don't really like the political humor one, but I like this "We're Not Jealous" one.
Oh, this one is okay. So we might as well just go on order of the list. What's this political humor? I forget. It's been so long since we've talked.
It's the qualification ones.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that good. Where it's like, it shows
so dumb.
Yeah, it shows Clinton. It shows a picture of Clinton, and it says Rhodes Scholar. And it shows a picture of Obama. It says Harvard Law. And then it shows a picture of Trump, and it's like, said he was smart. And all the comments talk about how when McCain ran against Obama, that the criticism was, one, that he didn't have enough political experience, and two, that he wasn't well educated enough because he only went to Harvard for his law degree, and he went to some college.
You cut out.
In California.
Oh, he went to Occidental and then he went to Harvard.
Yeah, Occidental and then to Harvard. And so people were like, oh, he's not well educated enough.
Who's dumb enough? There's no way. Show me a quote. No one would be dumb enough to say someone with a Harvard law degree is not educated enough. That's so insane.
They're enough experience in politics is what.
I'm pretty sure there is something in here that said that there is a quote. Hold on.
Someone might be.
But yeah, definitely.
Someone might claim that, but
Obama doesn't have enough political experience to be president. One of McCain's ads about celebrity.
Dude, we gotta fix this. This cutting out thing is annoying.
Yeah, you're cutting out on my end. It's kind of rough.
Yeah,
oh, really?
Because you're ghetto internet.
Yeah.
I mean, I put it on here just because you can just go to Wikipedia and look at Trump graduated Wharton. He graduated, or I think it's called Wharton. The business
Wharton
at Penn, which is an Ivy League. So even if his dad just bought him entrance in and it made it easy for him, like I go to MIT. I know some rich kids that their parents may or may not have bought them into school, but they're still really smart. Like just because your daddy paid for you to get into school doesn't mean you're not smart. I think Trump's at least a book smart person. Like to say that said he was smart is only qualification. No, he went to Penn and got an economics degree. That's not. It's just willful ignorance.
It's just denial of reality. I don't even.
Yeah.
The metric in this really extremely unfunny meme is the universities these presidents have attended. He has a degree from a university, but they just I don't understand why it's supposed to be funny.
I don't think you have to be a genius to be a Rhodes Scholar either.
You got to have something going on that most people don't.
Really?
Yeah.
I've heard it's kind of a joke.
Well, Bill Clinton was a rapist, so.
Yeah, he has something going on. He's
got something going on
between his legs.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He's unique. Unique in that sense.
Alright, this next one is great though.
Yeah.
We're not jealous. Tell me if I cut out.
Oh, late stage capitalism?
Yeah, don't confuse my hatred of the hyper wealthy for jealousy over what they have. I don't want a 6-figure sports car or a 40-room mansion or a gold leaf truffle Wagyu steak dinner.
Wagyu.
I want Wagyu, fine. I want redistribution of wealth that allows for infrastructural
Okay, you're raised in
support
abject poverty.
of all citizens' basic survival needs.
So I put this on here just because being in California, I spend at least one day every week pretty much at a millionaire's house, and they're really wealthy. They work really hard. They're working all the time. To say, that's in reference to one of the comments I saw on here. We're just like, oh, it's so mad. It makes me so mad that you just get lucky and you get a right role and you get born into a family that's rich and you never have to work a day in your life. Most rich people work really hard. The reason that they fill their lives with so much material goods is because they spend so much time at work and they have nothing fulfilling in their life.
Yeah, who's the guy that's the CEO of Microsoft now, Satya Nadella? He was an immigrant from like a moderate, like average. What's the word? What's the word for wealth that classes have of people?
What?
Oh, he's a middle class. He came from like a middle class family in India, and he got a degree from some university in India, and then immigrated to America. And now he's the CEO of like one of the biggest tech companies ever.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to work his ass off super hard to become the CEO and make his money. So he went from, and I'm sure middle class in India in 1980 or whatever was.
Oh, poverty right here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just absurd. They think that it's impossible to work hard and become. And to hear him talk about it, America is the land of opportunity, and that's something that immigrants understand more than people that were born here, because they know what it's like to live somewhere where there isn't economic freedom, where there isn't movement between the classes.
I posted this, or I put this on our link, primarily because I read a comment, and there's a person that said, this actually got gifted gold on Reddit, so it's a popular comment. This person said, I clean rich people's houses as a part-time job. When I'm at a multi-million-dollar house, envy is not what I feel primarily. I feel disgust, and they go on and on about how disgusting it is. First of all, one of the fundamental bases of capitalism is that people are inherently bad. So rather than give them a system they can abuse, like government control, it's better to let them succeed or fail on their own in the free market. So there's that. So yes, we're not denying that people can be bad. Also, if you tax people more and they can't afford to buy all these houses, you're going to lose your job because they no longer need you to clean them. So if you clean rich people's houses, you should be happy they're rich because they're giving you a job.
Well, and capitalism incentivizes people to create products and services that make other people's lives better. That's the only way that they can get money. I mean, obviously, unless you rob people, I don't think you become a millionaire by just robbing people every day as your job. So these
Yeah.
people have money because they have provided a service that other people were willing to pay for voluntarily. It's not like they stole the money.
Yeah, if I'm really rich and I buy like a third home, like Bernie Sanders has 3 houses, so he's totally on board for distribution of wealth apparently. But if I buy a third house, it's not like that house just magically appeared. Like someone built that house. Probably a bunch of Mexicans were paid to build that house.
Racist.
Having worked construction, a lot of people that work in construction. So it's not like, oh, I just scoot a bunch of people over. Well, people got paid to build that house. And if I want to build a custom house, even more people are going to get paid to build that house. I'm reading an article here about just the absolute size of the yacht industry and how big it is and how it's poised to grow. Okay, without rich people, we wouldn't have a yacht industry. And without a yacht industry, people wouldn't be paid to build yachts. Rich people created a whole industry because of their wealth. That can't really be overlooked.
Yeah, and I don't like this. There's this like fallacy that like liberals have that, oh, if they were wealthy, they would be spending all of their money on making other people's lives better, and the only people that become rich are evil people. And it's so absurd. Like, it's something Jordan Peterson said, like, in everybody is Schindler in Schindler's List. Well, statistically, that's not true. Like, everyone says that if they were rich, they'd be just giving all of their money away and helping people. And that's absurd. Statistically, that's not what you're going to do. When everyday people win the lottery, it ends up, like, ruining their lives, and they just blow all of their money instantly. And they don't donate all of it. That, like, never, ever happens. People are greedy. This person that made this post would not give out all of their money to homeless people. They would own a mansion and a sports car. They would buy it. It's absurd.
I was reading an article today about how, on average, blue states, in total, give more per capita to nonprofits. They give more donations to nonprofits. They give more charity than
Red states?
Red states. I always confuse red and blue and Republicans and Democrats. GOP-controlled states, on average, give more per person to private charity than Democratic-controlled states. That's not to say that all Democrats and or liberals don't give charity, but
well, they're all just donating it to church, and then the church is using that money to create gay hate groups, and they're electroshocking the gays, and their money's just going to evil.
Yeah, it's. I know. I get that if you have high taxes, you need to give less. But if your idea is based on altruism, like, oh, people who have more should give more to people who have less, each according to their ability, to each according to their needs, like evil philosophy. But okay, you could play this relativistic game. People in Africa are always gonna be poorer than people in America. So if you're this middle class liberal in California, like, oh, I pay my taxes, so it's fine. There's still poor people in Africa. Why don't you give some money to them if altruism is your end goal here? Why stop at American citizens?
Why don't they just give all of their money away and then they can just live in a tent?
No matter how poor you are in America, you're richer than the majority of the rest. Most people don't deny that fact. So the altruism game that people play when they talk about wealth distribution is a scam.
All right. That's an excellent point. Should we move on to the last topic of discussion today, late stage capitalism?
Yeah, let's go.
This subreddit is
the
just
same
a gold
subreddit.
mine.
Oh yeah. This was today. Ooh, I saw this.
Alexandria Crazy Eyes Ocasio-Cortez.
She is crazy.
All right, who wants to read it off?
Apparently not me, because I lag.
All right, so this is a tweet from. Did she win? What did she win? Is she a
She won her
congresswoman?
primary, and she will win the seat because it always goes.
Wait, is she running for senator or a representative?
I believe a rep in New York.
Oh, okay. All right, so this is a tweet from her, and it says, "Just so we're clear, things we find money to pay for: $2 trillion in tax cuts for billionaires, $210 billion trade war, an unknown amount for Space Force. Who cares how much, right? Things we refuse to pay for: Recovery for Puerto Rico, Medicare for all, tuition-free college.
Well, I mean, I still can't believe that people like think this lady is something. Like did she get her GED? Or I know for a fact there's people with a GED that are much smarter than her. I just like every time I see something, I just kind of want to punch myself in the face. And then the comments, like, people are like, seriously agree, and like people, I'm seriously considering immigrating to Canada as soon as I can, and like everybody that supports anything she's got to say is just not that bright.
There's a comment in here. It's like, I'm actually just a Canadian. That's sad to see how neglected the common people are down south.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
You couldn't pay me enough to live in Canada. It's like it's illegal to misgender someone. Canada is crazy. I don't want your pity. I mean, you can feel bad for me if you want, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, don't they have like a 50 or 55% income tax?
Yeah.
Fucking wild.
Just go on YouTube and watch some of the videos of like local news stations covering the refugee violence in Canada. Okay, so a lot of people don't like Rebel Media. I get it. I can see why some people don't like them. But they're covering the way that refugees are treating the hotels that the government is paying for them to stay at. Like, hotel managers are saying, we can't continue to have them here because they're setting fires and they're harassing our female waiters and just like all this stuff. I don't want to go to Canada. What makes this person think that them looking down on America from Canada is relevant at all?
Is this awkward silence for a reason? Are you trying to speak at him or?
I thought Adam was talking and he was cutting out.
Oh, did he go down?
I don't know.
I don't know. Text. Is that him? Yeah, it is.
Just keep it rolling. What is he leaving to the
Oh
bars?
no! Did Adam die?
Gotta go shower, boys. Something else.
Oh, he says someone else do the outro.
Yeah, he just wants to hit the bar early, probably.
God damn! I have to wait for everyone at Semi to get off before I can go out.
Sucks. My only plan for tonight was doing this.
Well, we could talk about it's related to her dismissal of Ben Shapiro's debate offer as catcalling.
Yeah, really quick before we move into that, I just want to make a point about. She says things you find money for: $2 trillion in tax cuts for billionaires. There's a conflation or a confusion between paying for something and allowing people to keep their own money.
Yeah.
It's not
like a big point.
It's not like we're giving. It's not like we're just like, hey, billionaires, take these $2 trillion. Like, no, you can keep more of your money. I mean, I'm not advocating whether that's good or bad. I think it's good, but that's not the point. There's a difference between allowing people to keep their own money and paying people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the trade war, I don't agree with Trump's trade war. The best for America there.
Also, Space Force. I thought Space Force is just separating a portion of the Air Force and then calling it the Space Force. I didn't know. There's not even like.
Yeah.
It's literally just an idea at this point. There's not even any money dedicated to it, but she already hates it.
Up to this point, the Air Force has been handling all high altitude stuff, including into space, like satellites and stuff. That's all Air Force's domain.
Yeah, exactly. What is wrong with just delegating it to like separating it? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I know.
Problem would be.
It is a logical move if you're thinking like 50 years down the road, which you think people would be for. Like, oh yeah, let's plan ahead. Especially with people so concerned about Russia. If anyone's gonna threaten us via space, like spying satellites and weapons in space, because that will eventually be a thing at some point. Like, yeah, this is a move that will combat that. Who knows how long it'll take, but eventually it'll come. So
yeah, I think the liberals have
now. Is it needed now? Maybe not. But is it a stupid idea? No. It sounds funny, but it's not a stupid idea.
They have this idea in their head that it's like he's preparing for some Star Wars-esque ultra future that we're gonna be making spaceships to like fight other spaceships. That's not what it's about. Like it,
In-
it's
in the-
it,
in the
the only it would only like govern basically satellites. I mean, that would be it.
In the 80s, there was literally something called like Project Star Wars, where I believe it was a laser designed to shoot down satellites. And so the idea of these advanced, space themed weapons, they've been around for like 30, 40 years. This isn't new.
Yeah, and we're extremely reliant on our satellites, so I mean, it would make sense
Oh,
to
yeah.
create a government entity whose primary role is to protect them and improve on them.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if we had no protection for Russia went up. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
all the
they've got like
satellites, all the satellites, you're like, yeah, we're gonna take them out. Like that would be a terrible, terrible thing.
yeah.
So it's smart. I'm not saying it's needed now, but it's not an idiotic idea.
Just hate it because it's Trump.
Yeah, everything Trump does is bad, and so by default, even his good ideas are bad.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to this Ben Shapiro
Yeah,
debacle. Somehow, it's a bad thing. I don't understand. They were so the left was so they were in uproar when Trump said that he would debate Bernie Sanders and then backed out. Like they were wild with the fact that Trump decided not to debate Bernie. And now we have someone on the right offering up to debate this person who's getting an insane amount of media attention, and he's a bad person for offering to discuss their political views. I don't understand. I don't know what mental gymnastics you would have to do for this to be like an insult.
yeah. So okay, so I'm looking at her tweet right now. So Shapiro says, or Shapiro's doing his mailbag. One of his fans says, Ben, what would it take for you to want to debate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on your show? And he goes, what would it take? I would do it for free. In fact, I will donate money to her campaign if she will come on and do an interview with me. So he said that he would either donate $10,000 to her campaign or to a private charity. That's more than the allowable donation to a campaign. I think it's $7,500. So this was an offer to her, right? And then she responds by saying, just like catcalling, I don't owe a response to unsolicited requests from men with bad intentions. And also like catcalling, for some reason, they feel entitled to one. Yeah, you don't owe him a response because he hasn't done anything for you. Like, if he had already given you $10,000, then maybe you might owe a response, but no one thinks you owe a response. I don't understand how it's compared to catcalling. That is ridiculous.
She's hiding behind her gender.
You're a politician. He has a big audience. You would think.
Well, he's a political news pundit, host of his own show. John, do you lag out? Oh man, now it's just me, alone, swimming in the abyss. Well, I guess the show is gonna end because my friends have left me unannounced. Thank you to whoever has listened to this podcast. I've had a fantastic time speaking, and I wish you a happy ever after.